To the After Church Show with Greg and friends. I'm your host and producer, GB. We are live in the studio at WXSL Street Legal Radio, www.streetlegalradio.com, or you can download the app to join in with us. You can also hit us up on www.theafterchurchshow.com to hear the show live in your eardrum. I've got my squad with me today. I've got my folks in here. I'm pumped as usual. Glad to see my gang. First, give a shout out to Sade, who's holding it down on the engineering board as she always does. And to my right, I've got Kai Nicole. What's going on, Kai?
Afternoon, y'all.
Haha, yeah. And to my left, the man on the left, the brother from another mother, Brother Massey. What's going on, Chief?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, man, you know how we doing. It is showtime. Lots going on. We were just talking off mic about this story that came about. Kai, you saw a news story you want to talk about?
Yeah, so in the news, I don't know if anybody has seen it, but the son of an ex-NFL linebacker, the linebacker's name is Antonio Armstrong.
Yeah.
Their 16-year-old son shot the father, who was Antonio Armstrong, and his wife, Dawn Armstrong. And they don't have an exact motive. They just know the note left next to the gun says, "I've been watching you."
Wow.
But it's also a rumor that it was over some Jordans. Now, the family, the friends, they said that they were really good parents. Apparently, after he left the NFL, they opened up a fitness center. He was a pastor. They said they were good parents and everything.
Jeez.
So they really don't know what would make him do that. And it was two other siblings in the house, but the siblings weren't hurt, and apparently they weren't a part of it. But it just kind of, makes you think about one thing, materialism, and another thing, honoring your mother and father.
Damn.
No matter what happens, have that respect for your parents. If they say no, they mean no. And whatever it is that they're doing, if it has nothing to involve you,
right,
who are you to be God and to take their lives? So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is, we starting to show off with something spectacular for sure, but that materialism thing is crazy.
Definitely.
I know that I've noticed it, and I guess in this age of what I consider to be somewhat entitlement, lots of the children unfortunately believe that there's this sense of it's owed to me, and you're supposed to get it for me because of who I am.
Yep.
The mindset behind that, and this is not to justify the actions of this young man, but if it is about a pair of sneakers,
Yeah.
that is bad.
That is really bad.
That's awful. That you can allow for materialism to get you to the point where you want to take the lives of the very people who God allowed for you to come into this world through. You know what I mean? The Bible does say honor your mother and father, and I can't think of a worse way to dishonor them than by killing them.
Yeah.
I mean, even when people kill, you've had kids who've killed because they were touched, molested, or abused in some way, and we still don't have the right to take a life, but at least the rational mind can understand that.
Yeah.
I can understand
At that point.
somebody trying to defend themselves or getting so full of anger and frustration from being abused that they want to, kill the person that oppressed them. But I cannot comprehend killing over money and materialism. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just it's a sad thing. Hopefully more details come out.
Yeah.
But it's also a testament, one on the parental side, to talk to your children, find out where their mindset is, find out what's going on. Not only talk to them, listen to them. We don't know, if that was the case about Jordans. I hope it was. Unfortunately, that happened, but I hope that wasn't it. Was it something the parents just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Somewhere we can connect the dots. But it also goes to children, like Greg said. You can't have a sense of entitlement. Your parents work hard.
Right.
That's
the piece that needs to always be repeated.
Yeah,
your parents work.
Right.
You can stop right there.
right. They work, right.
They work, they earn the money, hence it's their money to spend how they feel.
And
right?
looking at the house, he was, they had a nice big house. He was an NFL player.
Sure.
They had a nice
It says
big
he
house.
played at Texas A&M also, so
Yes,
he was a well-known
Yeah, he was a well-known guy, so...
Yeah, and a lot of these, I've watched a lot of these celebrity kids and sports player kids, and some of them, they just you
Spoiled
see
rotten.
them. They were so spoiled, and then when something happens like this, it's like, look, it's kids out there. Like I tell my sons, be thankful for what we have.
Yeah.
Don't look at nobody else's situation,
Right.
because I can take you some places where kids got to sleep on the floor, no electricity.
Right.
You know, be fortunate, be thankful. That's most important. Be thankful.
Ridiculous, man. Well, I mean, of course, our
Just pray
prayers are
for
going to
them,
be,
definitely.
indeed, our prayers are going to be for that family, because, you know, a tragedy of this magnitude is going to have far-reaching impact, because now you've got a mother and father who are gone. You're going to have an older sibling who's in jail. You're going to have two younger siblings who are without parents and without an older brother. So you're going to have the dynamic playing out there. They're going to be angry at him. He's going to be off in prison. More than likely, this is just destroyed completely. This family, that family was destroyed, and my prayers are that they can recover, especially the younger siblings, because that's got to be difficult. Even I don't even know their ages, but if the oldest is 16, I mean they're younger than 16, so it's got to be tough. Got to be tough. So you know what else is going on? There's something else that is going on in the news. We've got the local news here. Well, first, let me put this out there as well. To those who experienced issues in the Baltimore metropolitan area yesterday, there was some severe flooding that went on. We want to make sure that we pray for those people as well, and understand, you know, some people had issues. Some had waist-high water. You know, some places it was just severe rain, but then there were other places that had waist-high water. So, you know, our prayers are certainly with those people as well. But one word or two words, I'll say, homeowners insurance. Hope you got that.
Yes.
Flood insurance.
Yeah, flood insurance.
Make sure it's in the clause.
Make sure those clauses are checked off, and you're
Right.
paying that little bit of extra, because it's worth it. You know what I mean? So, but major news in the Baltimore metro area. It's actually this is national news as well. We know that the Freddie Gray case has come to a close, almost, at least from the prosecutory side. You know, the officers there are 3 remaining officers. The cases have been dropped against those 3 officers, so no more. They're not going to be pursuing them in court as far as that goes anymore. So I want to just talk about the fact that these guys didn't go through the process, and a lot of people were upset about this. You know, justifiably so. You know, I understand both sides of the coin from a legal perspective. You got to have enough evidence to make sure that the case is worth presenting, and I get that. I understand that. And if you don't comprehend that, then I question whether or not you're having an emotional response or a logical response. But there's the fact that the cases have been dropped. But then there's also the fact that we now have this prominent state's attorney who is really in the limelight for bringing this case to the forefront in the first place. I want to say personally that I applaud her for the efforts that she put in, because she was just doing her job. She did what should be done in an instance like that. So whether you side with the plaintiff or whether you side with the defendant, whatever your position is, she was just doing her job, and she should be commended for performing the job and doing the job with excellence. So I applaud her efforts for that. But now she's center stage because of the outcry of the community, and also the backlash that's being received from people who side on the side of the policemen. So I think that it's important that we pray for Marilyn Mosby, her husband, and her children, to make sure that they're just surrounded by prayer, that they're safe. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of backlash that can come from this. As you both know, people have very strong feelings about this on both sides of the coin. But it got me to thinking about the whole issue. Got me to thinking about accountability, because a lot of people are saying, and they're well within their right to say so, but a lot of people are saying, well, those cops should be punished, and they should have to go through the court system, and they should have to pay for the things that they've done. So the question got raised in my mind. There's a lot of people that say that. I hear that often. I hear that people, especially in like sports, if we follow sports, if somebody breaks a violation, whether it be for drugs or domestic violence, whatever it is, they do something that they're not supposed to do, and the public outcry is always take their job, take their job, take their job. Even if that's not in the language of their contract, the public wants them to lose their job. So I started to think about that. I'm like, you know what? What if every time somebody did something wrong, they lost their job?
Yep.
I mean, like completely lost their job, because people take this position like, you know, they should lose their job because they did something.
Right.
And, you know, so I bounced the question out there to you guys. Do you think these officers should get their jobs back? Do you think they should be out, walking the beat, riding a patrol car, going back to what they did before this whole case came about?
I think they should.
Okay.
And people may not agree with me, and that's fine, but I look at the root cause of this whole thing. We know we have bad apples. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't like the police union. I'm going to say that. Because it's like, you know, if me and Kyle playing, if I'm sitting next to you guys, mm-hmm. and I'm just playing with a gun and I accidentally shoot that gun off, I'm held liable for that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that, you know, I would get charged with something. Well, here you have 6 officers that in their care somebody was hurt, not only was hurt, but was neglected and mm-hmm. passed away.
Intentionally or unintentionally?
Intentionally or unintentionally. And I don't think they meant to hurt him. I don't think that. And that's why I don't think they should lose their jobs. But there should be some type of accountability. Mm-hmm. The root cause is the court system, which is a whole nother subject that we'll talk about maybe one day. But to lose their jobs in this case, no. Because I don't think they necessarily meant to hurt him. Mm-hmm. They did neglect him when he was, you know, you saw the video of him screaming and then them dragging him mm-hmm. back in the van. Well, they made some other stops while he's still in pain. So they were very neglectful, and they should be held responsible for that. Right. Just the court system that we have. Unfortunately, they don't like throwing police officers in jail. But to answer the question itself, no, I don't think they should lose their
So you think they should keep working? Kyle, what do you think? You think they should keep working? Or what?
I guess I'm a little different,
mm-hmm.
specifically for that point that he just made. You know, they're dragging him to the van, and he's screaming. So at that point, you know, no matter what he did, you got to be held accountable for that part, right? Because he's obviously in pain at that point. Yeah. Whether they should lose their jobs, I don't know. I never want to say somebody should lose their job, but they should be definitely held accountable for something. Because I mean, the guy died. Yeah. So maybe some retraining, sit him out for a little while. Yeah. You know, or something like that. Actually, I think a lot of officers need.
Let him miss that check a little bit. Let him miss that check. Let it hurt. Sure. Let it hurt a little
exactly.
bit.
It's clear from a lot of what's going on as of late. Those things that have been highlighted, I'll say, mm-hmm. because those types of things happen and have been happening for decades. But the things that have been really prominent and highlighted in the news does reflect that there is a need for retraining. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that's part of the equation of reaching a solution for the many problems that we have between police and community. But I actually agree with you both. I don't think that they should lose their jobs unless it's in the language of their contracts with the police department. Right. Now, if it's within the language and I say the same thing about the NFL players, the MLB players, and the rest of major sports people. If it's within the language of your contract when you signed up with this company, and all of us, regardless of whether we are famous or non-famous, that application that you fill out and when you sign up for the benefits and all that, that's a contract that you have with that company. So if there's an infraction within that contract that warrants them losing their job, then I would say yes. But I'll be honest, if I'm out and I get pulled over, and if I'm walking around and it's one of these guys, I'm not necessarily going to be happy that I get pulled over by these people. Right. I mean, I'm being real with that. Exactly. Because I'm going to look at them like they're short. Like, you lucky to even have that badge. Right. Would be my emotion. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I don't believe in taking food out of people's mouths. I don't believe in taking somebody's job away. And it kills me how people always say, well, they should lose their job. They should lose their job. And I really wonder if people would have the same response if they lost their job over everything that they did at work. So when you taking that those pens from the office,
or if you take 3 strikes, no more 3 strike system.
Right, you know what I mean? If you taking that paper, you taking that paper, right, and don't forget that.
You come lunch at 12, you come back at 12:10.
Right, that you stealing.
You were shopping at Walmart.
Right, that's stealing. I mean, if you really get if you because I've been in positions where I manage people. That is literally stealing time, which equates to stealing money. So if you come in late, you just stole 5 minutes worth of time. You know, so do you want to be fired? Do you want to lose your job? You know, because everybody's very quick to judge somebody else, and this is the whole point that I'm trying to make. You know, we are so quick to jump on our social media feeds and demand their jobs and all this other stuff and state what they ought to lose because they did X, Y, and Z. But if that same heat was placed on you, would it be the same type of energy? And I seriously doubt if people would.
They're not trying to lose their jobs.
Right.
In this whole situation, I just want the police union and department just come out and apologize. Don't say it's unfortunate. That's not apologizing.
It would be nice.
That's just saying this. Just say, you know what? Although our intentions were not to hurt this young man, we apologize that under our care he was injured and he died.
That would be nice.
Is it too hard to say? And
I
that's not an admission
think that
of
the
guilt.
check cut is enough, though. I really believe that that's kind of the way that they think, and it's not just the our local police department. It's nationwide. It's an epidemic. They just cut checks. You know what? Hey, it's unfortunate that happened. Here's 1.25. Here's 3.4 million, and you can't say anything.
And guess who pays for that?
Exactly.
Yeah. We pay for that. So we double paying.
Right, because you pay it twice.
I'm paying for the officer that did the mess, and now I got to pay for the repercussions of.
Yeah.
And then it seems kind of like they don't really have no remorse. It's like, we didn't do it,
right?
And then we don't see you.
Or the other position, if we didn't have to stop this person, none of this would have happened.
Right.
I don't like that.
It's all messed up. Yeah.
I don't like that. That's the one I don't like. But anyway, look, if you're just tuning in, you're tuned in live to the After Church Show with Greg and friends. I'm your host and producer, GB, and I've got my squad with me, Kai Nicole and Brother Massey. We are just having some talk about what's going on in the news right now, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, stay locked to WXXL Street Legal Radio, www.streetlegal poll this week that we ran that was off of a story that broke on CNN earlier this week. Did you guys see the story about the woman who beat her daughter on Facebook Live? She live streamed an old school butt kicking for the world to see, and she actually she came back to the camera and was like, let this go viral. She wanted it she wanted it to go viral. So check it out. The background on the story is simple. This woman down in Savannah, Georgia, she had a 16-year-old daughter. She has a 16-year-old daughter. I said had. I don't want anybody to think that she killed her. They're both still alive. But she has a 16-year-old daughter, and the mother had found out that the daughter had taken some sexually provocative photos and posted them on social media. And then she also found out that her daughter allegedly was having premarital sex in the home when the mother wasn't at home. So this mom logs into Facebook Lives, gives a small dissertation on what she's about to do, and then she commits to putting that whooping on her daughter. So
she definitely did.
Yeah, she gave her some business. Now, I mean, yeah, she talked with her hands and looked to be like a small piece of plastic or something like that. But either way, she was yelling at her and screaming at her. She was like, "You think this cute? You're only blank 16." She was screaming at her, "You want to be a thought?" And for all my super saved people, that's that garden tool over there. That's what thought stands for. That garden tool over there. So she was screaming at her and yelling at her, correcting her and fussing her. So we put a poll out on our fan page, the After Church Radio Show fan page this week, and we simply asked the question: did this mother go too far? Do you believe that the mother handled the situation correctly? And did you think that she went too far? So we had quite a few comments, and we appreciate everybody that weighed in and gave their opinions. Majority of the listeners that weighed in said no, the mother didn't handle it the right way. There were a couple hardcore Christians that said, yes, mom did what she was supposed to do. But interestingly enough, I wanted to read a couple of the comments that were left. Burrow wrote, she said, I definitely didn't agree with how she did it. People don't understand that you're not just beating up your kid, but by blasting it on social media, you're also inflicting mental and emotional abuse for something Mom Dukes probably did herself at that age. Better ways to handle it. She may not do it again, but chances are the little girl is wounded more deeply than just on the surface. So I actually can certainly see that perspective. We had here's one of the listeners who said yes, they handled it the right way. This is Corey. He said, I have two thoughts. I voted yes, but only out of anger and disappointment. How could she do this? And he said this as a loving father, but he realized that with young people that they're immature and they don't always know what to do, and everyone makes mistakes, including parents, which could be the case for mom's actions. So, what do you guys think? I mean, she beat her daughter. She corrected her daughter, and we know that whoopings like that take place around them. It's probably one, if you quiet down, you probably can hear a whooping taking place right now somewhere in America. Right as I'm speaking, somebody's getting a spanking, especially them bad children in church. They're getting pinched or pulled. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think this woman went too far by posting this beating on Facebook Live?
I definitely think she went far by posting it.
Yeah.
However, the girl was apparently she was having relations in the house and posting videos. So I think that part of it, disciplining her.
Sure.
I mean, she was 16. I don't know. Do you still get these at 16?
I was asking I told my wife that. I said, you know what? I said, after a certain age, though, you can't be laying onto the hands after a certain age. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, but
corrected, punished, restricted. Yeah. Yes, but I mean, she was giving her a 2-piece and a biscuit in this video.
Yeah. So I don't know about that part. So I definitely don't agree with her posting it, especially the way that it happened. Some people just don't have no sense. Even as adults,
right?
It's like, what are you thinking?
Right.
But I have to say, if I had some videos posted of my parents with some hot rod tracks.
Right.
Love you, Mom.
So I mean, I'm a parent, and it's different. I'm a parent. I'm a father. Your 16-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. Now, if you log into social media and you seeing these, sexually explicit poses, and you seeing all this stuff, I'ma see red. Mm-hmm. I'm not. It's not much you're gonna be able to say.
Yeah, that point of it is wrong.
To bring me off of that horse. You know what I mean? That red
0
horse.
100.
Yeah. I'm all 100 at that point. 0 to 100 real quick. ain't nothing you can say. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you got to think about it. And here's the thing. I don't think that the younger generation, and I've said this in private and I say it on the radio, I don't think they honestly contemplate the damage that's done when they post things on the internet. It is a completely accessible highway of electronic information. There is nothing you can do to pull it back once you put it out there. So you've got this 16-year-old girl who's, I think the article said she was in a towel or whatever else she was doing. You're posting these things. You're 16.
Exactly.
You haven't gotten to the point where you're posting for jobs, where you're trying to get admitted to colleges, where she could run for politics one day. She could be, try to be a pastor's wife or a pastor herself. And then you got these photos of you out there, clicking it up in the bathroom like your man Eddie Long was doing, sending pictures.
And her classmates actually outed her, said her name and everything. So I was like, oh, you really
so your full
messed
name
up
out there.
So mentally, I'm pretty sure she's scarred right now.
So as a pops, I mean, come on, Chris. You're a dad. I know you don't have any daughters, but you still a father, man.
I got it.
What would you say? I mean, if you log into the internet and this is what you see the precious little princess
right
up there looking like, we'll call it Nicki Minajin on social media. On social media, what would you do, man?
I'm with you.
0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
0 to 100 real quick. I mean, I think she took it too far. I agree with Burr 100%. I think that would definitely scar. It reminds me of the parent that says, I'm going to embarrass you where you embarrass me.
Yeah, whenever you show off, that's where I'm going to beat you.
So you're going to show off online, I'm going to beat you online. But do it in private, especially now with everything, with all these activists. I mean, you can barely discipline your child in public. I look at the lady who was beating her son during the riots.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that snatched him up?
And all the a lot of the news people, a lot of the news corporations, they were very upset, saying her child should be taken away.
Please.
And all that. No, that was
out there. Slow clap.
Yeah. That's the kind of...
Get him, mama.
Right. But to beat your child online, no, I think that's a little bit too far because you don't know the ramifications. Now, you will have to address that. That's just part of being a parent. You're going to have to learn at some point whether they're posting pictures or you're finding text messages.
Using profanity. It's all kinds of things.
You are going to have to figure out the best way because our parents had to have that conversation with us. So it's a trickle down effect. But as a father, if I had a daughter and I have 5 nieces, I'm going off. I don't want to hear nothing. You already know.
It's gonna be hard to come
ain't
back
no conversation.
It ain't popping up behind the walls.
Right.
What you do?
Where you going today?
I'm jacking up.
Why you went there?
And then you just gonna have to find another way because I'm taking phones, taking computers, shutting down pages. We doing all that.
It's kind of like I'm grateful for social media. I think that it is one of the from a technological perspective, it is one of the greatest inventions that we've had. It took me a while. I was a little slow with it at first, but now I actually enjoy it. I see the benefit of it, etc. But I know it's that dark side of it that I don't think these kids really get, and their mind isn't mature enough to understand the full length of the ramifications of a quick 2-second decision to either say something or post a picture that's out there forever. Right. Something that can never come back. And then the other thing about this was, I got two perspectives on it. The daughter, to me, was just disrespectful to the mom. You know what I mean? And this is one of those things where everybody has their own opinion, but if you're in the house, you shouldn't be in there sexually active in your parents' home. It's not your place. So
that's why there ain't no locked doors. Stop letting your children lock their door.
Right.
I'm
Don't it's the person that pays the mortgage owns the house. So that means you can walk wherever you want to within the house that you
pay. It's a lot of reasons why parents, just from my personal experience and perspective, it's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't lock the door because number one, you don't know what's going on in there.
Right.
And it might not necessarily be a sexual thing.
They could be building a bomb in there.
Exactly. They could be building bombs. They could be going through, mental stuff.
Yes. They could be cutting themselves.
Yeah.
There could be all kinds of stuff going on in there.
That right there, I know after a certain point in time, because we could shut out doors, lock them. After a while, the locks got broken. And you couldn't shut them. So
you lock that door one too many times, you're going to come home and it won't be on the hinge. You won't have a door.
You won't have a door. I've seen
your room. And I've seen that and I did that.
Take
the door off the hinge and then there is no door.
But something else is, especially with social media and just being on the internet, like you said, once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
There's so many sickos out here. And
they don't think about that.
All they do is
they troll the internet looking for somebody.
They can see your picture, see you walking, and then, I like what I saw. Let me go snatch her up.
Right.
It's just,
and then you can post right to you can pinpoint where you are.
Right.
Oh yeah, with all these smartphones.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost crazy as that Pokemon stuff. But there was another another perspective one here that was left by Chanel. Chanel said part of her question or response rather was that the mother needs to take a look at herself and possibly dig deeper to figure out why the child did what she did, So she should take a look at herself. She see what she's showing her. So to surmise it, it basically says if you're a good role model, then you don't have to worry about stuff like this. Now I've got two feelings on that. One, I completely agree. You know, you do have to walk in a way that demonstrates to your children exactly how you should live. You are their model for how they should be in life, and you're the example that they need to be. But the other piece of that I kind of disagree with, because I also think that children make their own decisions.
That's true.
I think that, you know, there's too many times when a parent looks in the mirror and says, it's my fault little Jimmy turned out this way,
Right.
when it's not. It's because little Jimmy decided this is how he wants to be. And I grew up with people, I know people personally who had two parents in the house,
That's right.
who were raised the right way, went to church every Sunday, didn't want for anything, weren't poor, parents were pretty affluent, and they still wound up in the streets. They still wound up trying to sell drugs. They still wound up trying to be something that they saw elsewhere. And that, because and my point is, it gets down to personal choice.
Right.
You know, so this woman saying, you want to be a thought, keep beating a child, acting like she just might want to be. I mean, and I know that that's a hard reality to you know, accept, but some people aspire to be that way, and it's unfortunate because they're lost, and you know, they need the Lord in their life to make sure that they have enough self-esteem and self-worth to not view themselves that way. But some people actually want to live on that side of the line, and you've got to say, what can you say?
Because they're living of the world and not,
Right.
you know, of God.
Yeah. So it's that's just, you know, how I felt about that. But I want to thank everybody for their responses. We really appreciate the feedback that we get on the ACS question of the week. You guys are giving us good feedback. We thank you for everybody that voted and let us know. But again, overwhelmingly, everybody pretty much thought that Moms went a little too far. And for the record, I think she went too far. I understand all of her emotion, and I understand why she was mad, but I would never do that type of thing on the internet. And kind of just put that out there on one of the kids. That to me is just cruel and unusual. You don't have to go that far. Just whip him at home and close the door.
Shut the lines, close the door.
Yeah, deal with it inside the house and then let it go. So we got when we come back from we're going to take another break. When we come back from the break, Michael Jordan spoke out against racial issues. And he spoke out against police brutality. So we want to tackle that when we come back from the break. So just think about this. Do you think it was too little too late for Michael Jordan to speak up? You're tuned in to WXSL Street Legal Radio. I'm your host, GB. I got Kai Nicole and Massey with me today. We'll see you in Greg and friends. If you are just joining us, we are live at WXSL Street Legal Radio, www.streetlegalradio.com. So before the break, we were talking about Michael Jordan speaking out against the racial issues and police brutality. He's recently been quoted as, you know, speaking out against it and basically giving his displeasure with both sides of the coin. And he not only said something about it, but ultimately he has decided to do something about it from a financial perspective. He said that he no longer wants to be silent. So he gave up $2 million. $1 million is going to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and $1 million is going to the police community it's a police community organization where they go into the community and try to do better with the community. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think, because a lot of people are saying too little too late, because Jordan has said things in the past where he really didn't get involved, he really didn't, you know, he kind of kept his space from social matters. You know, and I have two thoughts on that, you know, because some people think that once you become famous or once you become wealthy, it is then your job to say something, and it's your job to become vocal. I don't think that it's your job to do so. However, I do think that you are in a very unique position, and if you are going to be involved, then you have to understand that the level of influence that you have is going to be significant. So I think that, you know, personally, I would take advantage of being on a platform. If I'm a LeBron James, if I'm a Michael Jordan, you know, if I'm a Kobe or somebody like that, I'm going to take advantage of the position that I'm in because I know that I have the ear of my fans and I know that they're going to listen. So just like you can do something positive, you can do something negative. I would choose, if I'm in that position, to do something positively. But a lot of people have said, you know, it's too little, too late. We don't want to hear from old man Mike now, because back in the day, you know, he made some kind of snarly comments about, you know, Republicans buy his sneakers too, and he really didn't. He stayed completely out of, at least from a verbal perspective. He did not speak out against anything. Now, he has foundations. He's got money that funnels through a couple of charities that he actually has. So he's actually putting money into communities and stuff like that. However, he never really said anything. And because of that, people viewed him as somebody who was not involved. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think it's too little, too late? Or what's your perspective on, you know, MJ speaking out finally against what's going on, considering the climate in our country right now?
I don't think it's ever really too late to do something.
Right.
And I think for Michael Jordan, I think people need to understand that just because you have that platform doesn't mean that you have to always be out there in the spotlight. There's a lot of celebrities and famous people, athletes, singers, whatever, that do things, and they do them behind the scenes. It's a lot of actors that did things, you know, behind the scenes.
Yep.
So I don't think they necessarily you don't always have to know about what they're doing.
Right.
And I think for Michael Jordan, you know, for people that don't know, I remember hearing it when I was a kid, his father died from gun violence.
Absolutely.
So that could have been a thing too, that maybe he just didn't want to. He probably still had some really harsh feelings about that too. So that's probably why he didn't speak out for a long time. It doesn't necessarily mean he didn't do anything.
Right. Because
I'm pretty sure he did. But I don't think it's ever too late to publicly, you know, take a stand, especially right now when it's so prominent, it's so heavy, it's so big. So I don't think it's too late to apologize.
Excellent. What do you feel about that, Master?
Yeah, I agree. It's never too late to affect change. It's never too late. Him donating that money is a good thing. And I heard someone say, well, he shouldn't have gave money to the officers. But I mean, he's given money to both sides, because the whole thing is the solution.
Right.
You know,
it's about
how
solution.
can I support on each side? And if you don't like the fact that he's coming out, if you're saying that, okay, Mike, you know you waited too late, then why are you still buying his shoes? You still supporting him?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that
I got me a pair.
Right. that's the thing that that people just don't understand. You're gonna criticize the man that y'all keep lining up for his shoes. Y'all buying each and every single one. Let it affect his pockets. Stop buying Jordans. I mean, for those that have a problem, if you don't have a problem, keep supporting the man. But if you have a problem with him coming out and saying something and supporting the police and supporting the community,
stop buying them shoes.
Stop buying his shoes.
Standing in line for 12 hours, 24 hours.
He's re-releasing the same shoes. And he's getting a big old check. That's why he can afford not to say anything.
He don't have to say anything.
He don't have to say nothing. Really, he don't say anything. But I do agree. If you're on that level, you know that the public spotlight is on you.
Yeah.
There was like a video I watched yesterday. He was at Chris Paul's camp, and Chris Paul had said,
saw that. If you
missed three, give all the kids, free shoes. And he made all the shots.
Yeah, that's the competitor in him, though. I almost understand that, because I dunk on a 5-year-old.
So we gonna pray for.
I can't even dunk. We're gonna talk about I dunk on a
5-year-old. Prayers.
I'll post up a 10-year-old.
I'll post up a little kid.
Yeah. Get that out of here.
But it's never too late, and that's ignorant to say. That it's too late. It's never too late if you're still trying to make some type of change.
Yeah, because people tend to criticize people, and every story that I see in the news, I always just, for some reason, it just makes me think about my faith, and it draws me back in somehow. And I thought about how people are so incredibly critical of folks who finally do the right thing, and people who finally turn their lives around. And I know that you may have seen this or experienced this, but sometimes when people come to Christ, when they give their life to Christ, often you see people being more judgmental than happy. You know what I mean? Because it's like you know. I saw you when you was out in the street. I know what you used to do. I know when you were right. You smell like what you was doing. Right. You know what I mean? And then when somebody finally turned around, as opposed to clapping and being happy, you know, people looking at them with the turned lips and the slant eye, you'd be like, what? What is your problem? You should be happy about this. You know what I mean?
I saw real quick. I'm sorry. I saw a post that it was crazy. So this young lady, she was heavyset. She said, "This is why I don't like going to the gym, because here I am trying to lose weight and better myself, and people turn their eye to me like, what is she doing in here?"
Right. It's so wrong. It's wrong. It's the same mindset.
It's the same mindset. Somebody is trying to change their life.
Right.
And you're going to sit back and say something, you should be happy for it.
Be happy for it. Why not be happy for it? So, I mean, people, it amazes me. I just laughed at it, because I sat there and I was like, man, I'm reading all these posts of these cats going in on Mike. You know, like, well, he don't need to say anything. You got $2 million to put up? Right. You know, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Where your $2 million?
Right.
People that talk about celebrities not doing anything, I'm like, well, what are you doing? Right. All you doing is sitting in your chair talking.
That's it.
On your laptop.
It's the broke people that sit back.
Broke people always the loudest. Always the loudest.
Broke be loud, doesn't it?
Like, you see me? Yes, we see you.
You say a lot.
Yeah, you know, broke should be silent. Bro, that's just like, hey,
because you broke.
If I take you out to lunch, and I'm like, hey, look, man, you can get a cheeseburger, grab something to eat. No, I don't want that. Okay. Hey, ain't no problem. I'm gonna get this meal, right. But you just cut yours off.
And you're gonna watch me eat it.
Yeah, watch me eat this sandwich.
And
drink this juice.
And I'm gonna look at you while I'm eating.
Right.
You can join me in prayer, but you ain't getting this.
Yeah, you ain't getting none of this. But so Mike spoke out about, racial issues, stuff that's going on. So, one of the conversations that came up in our meeting was, in lieu of the events that are taking place in our country, and in lieu of all the, the police brutality, the black on black genocide, and all this other stuff, and the seemingly racial divide that at sometimes seems like it's wide, but then others not. What if you have a biracial child? One parent's white, one parent's black. How would you talk to this child about racism in America? How would you address, and it's tough. That's a tough question,
Very careful.
Because I'm trying to think, and I'm an African American man, black man, proud of it. But if I was a white man and I had a black wife, it would be a different conversation than if I was a black man and had a white wife, because the way that males are viewed in society. So how hard would it be to sit and talk to a biracial child about the fact that there is racism in America? Because keep this in mind, and this is something that I've always known and been taught, and this is how I was raised. Racism has nothing to do with genetics.
That's true.
You are not born racist. There's not a racist gene that they've discovered. We got any scientists listening that want to, weigh in and say that, well, there's DNA there's a strain of DNA that ensures that you don't like other races. Post it on our page and let us know. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as what we know, that racism is not something that you are born with. It's something that you're taught. So I would find it very difficult to have this conversation with my child, especially if my child had more Afrocentric features, and I have to talk to this child, and they're saying, well, why are they making fun of this person? Why do they call me this name? I would find it to be difficult. But I think that one of the things, just to spark our conversation here, I think that a place to start, and you guys, jump in, is to kind of celebrate their multi-ethnic heritage.
Right.
Meaning not to take away either part of them, because if you're mixed, then you are representative of a couple of different cultures. And I'm not talking about the people who say, I'm 1/8 Cherokee, 1/8 Irish, 1/8 English. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about
my mama's mama.
Yeah, I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about my pops looks like this. My pops look like Idris Elba. and my mom looks like Meryl Streep. Okay, I'm talking about the children that come from that.
That would be an interesting looking child, right there.
It would be. It'd be a funny looking
I'm
child
sitting there thinking about
with
it.
a weird accent. But yeah, so it's like we have to deal with this because interracial marriages in the U.S. have risen by like 20% since the year 2000, and about 4.5 million Americans are involved in interracial marriages based upon the most recent census figures. So the number is constantly growing. So that means we have the blending of races and families, which is nothing new. There's nothing abnormal about it. But considering what's going on, how do you feel about how you would speak to your child if they came home and said, "Hey, Dad, I was called a name, and I don't understand why. Because I see how you and Mom get along. I don't understand why the environment's like it is."
It'll definitely be a hard thing. I think you just have to kind of explain to them that there will be ignorance, and you have to try to balance them. I would say you will have to try to balance them not to take a side, because they could take the side of their black African American side, and or they can take if they're mixed with white American or white, they could take their side. But me, if I were in that situation, and I have my family, two of my cousins who married white women, and I've asked them, and they said, they just explained to them that there are going to be situations and people that look at them differently, that may not respect, them being biracial, that may not respect their mother, or I know my cousin, he said when they go out on dates, people still look at them funny. When they, matter of fact, when they got married, they were down in New Orleans. They went in a restaurant that wouldn't even serve them.
Jeez.
Wouldn't even serve them. So,
with that though, just jump in real quick because you have an active situation. Yeah. How do they tell the kids, if you've had this conversation? How do they tell them to handle it though? Like, do they tell them what they should do if they're confronted with it?
We've never had that conversation. Like, what do they say to their children?
Okay.
But I would just say that would be something huge to explain to them how to handle that situation if they were confronted with that situation. How I
the restaurant situation we just talked about.
Yeah. So if you were in that situation, this is what you do, or let them know, like, look at the kind of America we're in now, and they're old enough. Well, two of them they just had a little baby. She's like 12 months now. But just sit down and show them, like, you may run into this situation.
Yeah.
And this is how we've handled it, to kind of smooth it out for them.
Yeah, because I think that one of the most important things that we have to understand is that you have to be realistic and have a very open discussion about this, because you can't sweep that under the rug, because what's going on in our society warrants that you have a conversation about it. And I think that if we reject the notion that bigotry doesn't exist, then we're actually doing a disservice to the younger generation.
Right.
It's not meant to sway them in either direction, because as believers, we believe that you should teach love and respect for God, teach love and respect for others. Jesus wasn't racist, so there's absolutely positively no excuse for a Christian to be racist. And I fully believe that, and I adhere to that in my daily life and in my daily walk. And anybody that says otherwise, I would question the level of faith that they actually have, because nowhere should we be racist people. Now, I'm not saying walk around in a bubble like it doesn't exist, but I'm saying as far as the way you deal with the world, you can't be racist and claim to love Christ. But how do you think you would deal with that, Kai?
Well, I know with my goddaughter, her mother is white and her father is white, and my friend is white. And we had her one day, and it was a weird feeling, but she did ask. She's like, why are we getting certain looks, or why does this happen? Why does that happen? And I'm not her parent, so for me, that's a difficult conversation that I hadn't even thought about having. But I just said, some people think differently. That's the only way I could put it.
It's kind of hard to get through to a kid sometimes.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you say, especially at that young age, at like 7, 8 years old? It's like, what do you say to them? So I hadn't even thought about it myself, being in an interracial relationship. And like, what if we had kids? It's like, what would I say to my kids? So it's kind of hard, but racism is taught, and I don't even think, like, when sometimes when people look at you, I don't even think sometimes it's intentional. I think it's just kind of a natural thing. Because if I see an odd couple, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna look, but I'm not gonna like judge them and be like, oh, that's
I don't ever think we should do that. I mean, growing up, I had a it was like a Benetton commercial. If you remember, because I had when I was small, it was a friend of mine who was from Africa. I had a black friend. I had a white friend, and it was me. And we rode thick as thieves. It didn't matter. We were kids, and it really didn't matter. We would go in each other's houses. We would, all of the parents were able to communicate, get along, cookouts in the back. It was one of those things where it was so abnormal to see otherwise. For me, being friends with different cultures and different races is normal.
It is.
It shouldn't be. Yeah, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be something that's not taught or adhered to. But I just thought it'd be a good question, because it's got to be difficult. I'm not in that situation, but I can only imagine what it's like to be a multiracial child in a society where people are so incredibly dismissive of races blending still.
And we have a multiracial president who goes through it. They ignore his whole fact that his mother's white.
Yeah.
All they see is a black president. Ignorance just reigns.
I think it has a lot to do, because I learned from my history teacher who was biracial. He said his entire family is mixed, but he said it's also how you raise them. If you raise them in a black community, they're going to identify as black. If you raise them in a white community, they're going to identify as white. And how you were raised might be different. So that conversation is also hard, because he is biracial. He's raising his kids in a right now predominantly black family. Yeah. But all his cousins are white, so it's kind of hard having that conversation.
Yeah, I bet you that makes for an interesting cookout.
I'm sure.
Oh, that's too funny. So, but anyway, I want to before we go into our last break, I want to go ahead and go with your spotlight, Kai. So, if you want to speak to the people about what you have for them this week, this is Kai's spotlight.
Yes, so this week for my spotlight, I basically just wanted to talk about the problem with gossip. The problem with gossip. Now, I got this article off of a Christian Post. It's a Christian Post article. And basically it's the ways that you can avoid gossip. So, some might say, what's wrong with a little water cooler talk?
Right.
Or something like that. And I can say that I've witnessed the things that's wrong with that. It ruins friendships, relationships. It kind of taints your the way people look at you and your reputation and your image. So I personally don't want to be around someone who is constantly turning down someone else, and always spilling the beans. But
that loose mouth, boy.
Yeah, in Ephesians 4:29 it says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful or for building others up according to their needs, that may benefit those who listen." And then in the article it says, as Christians we're supposed to honor God with our lives. So that includes, what we say and how we treat other people. Yeah. So in the article it says these are the ways that you can avoid it or, not encounter it. So be positive and politely get out of the conversation, whether it's verbally excusing yourself or walking away. For the gossiper, resist the urge to do so, especially when someone confides in you. That means they trust you with this information and they most likely do not want it going around. The third way is to pray on the situation and go to God instead of everyone else. Number 4 is to forgive the person that hurt you in this way. And lastly, this says to confront the person. And the only thing that I can say is if you do confront the person, make sure that it is on a good day.
Yeah.
And that you are going to reconcile the situation.
my left eyebrow went up a little bit in the confrontation. I was like, confront? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually
I'll
shocked.
skip to number 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip straight to 5.
I was shocked. I was shocked about that confronting part because I was like, for me, it's like, I don't know if you should necessarily confront. But that's what it says in the article.
So we can do 1 through 4. Successfully, we can do 1 through.
Yeah.
And what was number 2? Or
Number
3?
It was number 3, which you probably.
What was number 3
Number
again?
3 was pray on the situation. And
No, number 2 then. What was number 2?
Resist the urge.
For the gossiper?
Resist
the urge?
For the gossiper, resist the urge to do so.
It's I'm sure it's hard for the gossiper to do that. Because my rule is this. This is my rule as far as dealing with people. Because you can spot a gossiper like that.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody will talk to you about somebody else's business, and you didn't ask, best believe they talking about yours to somebody else. That's right. That's my rule of thumb.
If you friends with somebody that's friends with somebody that you don't get along with, best believe you the topic at the dinner table. Remember that.
You in the middle of that call.
Remember that while you breaking bread and eating fried chicken.
Yeah. And that's when we skip. That's when we skip straight to number 5.
Right.
Confrontation. Straight to number 5. We go straight to number 5.
Right.
Look, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're tuned into the After Church Show with Greg and friends. www.streetlegalradio.com, WXSL. And this is involving what I consider to be one of the most iconic televangelists in my lifetime that I'm aware of, outside of T.D. Jakes himself, because T.D. Jakes is a pretty big, internationally known televangelist. But Reverend Billy Graham. I think he's about 96 now.
He's over the hill.
Yeah, he's been with us for some time.
Right.
Those of us who are sanctimonious and saved for more than 5 years probably know who Reverend Dr. Billy Graham is. So recently, the Right Reverend released a. He's 97. Well, God bless him. I mean, that's a long time. You know what I mean? 97 years is a bonus. So, but the Right Reverend Billy Graham recently said that he doesn't understand why people pray before they make big decisions and before you accuse us of sacrilege or anything like that. His rationale is this. He thinks that people should use the brains that God gave them to make decisions. And he said, after all, isn't that what he gave them to us for? Now, do you agree or disagree with that? Now, I feel like he sounds like a grumpy old man right now. That's what I'm saying. Like, that just sounds real grumpy. Like somebody asked him something that they knew the answer to, and Dr. Billy just went off on him. And didn't God give you a brain? Use the brain God gave you. But anyway, they quoted him as saying this, and it's something that he said. You can research it. It's definitely out there. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think that you should pray before making major decisions? Because now, the Right Reverend says, use the brains that God gave you. Now, if you ain't got much brain, you're gonna need some help.
You got a mush up there.
But so what do you think? Do you agree with them or do you disagree with them?
You might find this crazy, but I actually agree with them.
Okay.
And I'm not saying don't pray. So before anybody out there think, oh, Massey said don't pray. No, that's not what I'm saying. But there are some decisions that if you just do what you know to do,
right,
you can, instead of praying for it, you can thank him for the provision. Like the example of buying a house. If you manage your money, manage your credit, and you save, when you go get a house, you don't need to pray to God for a house if you're doing those things.
Okay.
Now thank him after you get the house. That goes back to what we're saying about we do the ordinary, God can do the extraordinary, or the possible and impossible. Now, if your credit messed up, but you happen to come up with some cash, and somehow, some way, you got, you need to pray, God, I want a house, and boom, you got your house.
Right.
But if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you really don't have to pray for it. You just thank him in the process. Now, of course, you pray along the way just in general. But I agree with them. I mean, some stuff is just common sense, and people are praying and praying and praying, and God is like, move. Like, why are you praying right now? Just move. So I actually partially agree with what he's saying when it comes to that. Some things you just need to know the concept of, principle of saving money. You know, you want to go buy a car, research, save your money, build up. You don't need to pray to God to help you through that process. He's already given us the tools on this earth for that. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. So you saying, like, if somebody's sitting at a light and the light turned green and they still sitting there, and that you say, well, why aren't you moving? And they say, well, I'm waiting on a sign from the Lord. I'm praying about going through the green light. Just use your common sense.
Right, because honestly, real quick, some people just, I mean, God wants us to rely on Him. But at the same time, that's why we have our free will. He gave us the power and authority to live. So it's like some people, you got to wait on the Lord forever. I'm waiting on the Lord. I'm waiting on the Lord.
Pray about
They
everything.
want to pray about everything. No, God already gave you the wisdom. That's what the Bible is for.
Okay.
Joshua didn't have to pray when he started, when God called him. God said, wherever your footsteps are, I will be with you. I look at that scripture and say, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, God is always going to be with me. The provisions are already set. I don't need to pray for everything. Some stuff God just gave me the authority to do, and by thanking Him, that's backing it up. So I like I said, I agree with his statement. Now pray, of course, but you don't have to pray for everything. He's giving you wisdom already.
Okay. All right, Pastor Massey, did you hear that? God said, step wherever my
Giving
feet
you
go.
a plate.
The plate is coming around now. See the back will make its way up to the front. So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about the right Reverend Billy?
I saw this and I just could not stop laughing.
I thought it was hilarious. I'm not going to lie.
I'm a little 50-50 on it because I like to have a little talk with Jesus and tell him all about my problems.
Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want.
On that main line, calling him. No, seriously, I agree with what he's saying about, do the work. Because, I mean, faith without works is dead.
Okay.
So I agree with that. If you want a house, save, work for it. You don't have to pray for that.
Right. Okay.
Pray it. Thank him after you get it, like I said. Now, things like, I think you should pray like, stuff like if you want a job, do your work. You'll pray like, Lord, let me get this job.
Don't pray to be the CEO and
work
you
from
ain't
the
graduated from
right.
college.
Work from the ground.
You got to find. Now, if you get it, that's supernatural. That's God right
there. Yeah, that was it. That's God. That's
I'm
God.
going to have to pull that later. I'm sorry.
Certain things, I think, pray before,
Yeah.
Other things is kind of like, you don't really got to.
Well,
talk to me before that.
I'm with you. I think I believe you should have a healthy prayer life. I think you should pray every day. I think that there should never go a day that you don't commune with God. The Bible does say that we should pray without ceasing. Right. It doesn't mean that you spend your entire day on your knees or in a corner praying, but it does mean that there should be a continuous conversation that you're having to commune with God. But to your point, to both of you guys' point, there are things that you don't have to pray about. Like if you wake up in the morning and you say, Lord, should I brush my teeth, Father? You got that stank morning breath.
You know it's hot.
Right, you know that breath hot. You don't have to pray about that.
When you wake up in the morning, you should be praying in the morning. You should be thanking Him that you woke up in the morning.
Right. Now do that. As soon as you open your eyes, you're going to say, Lord, I thank you for another day. But even when you say that, you smell your breath then. So
if you don't smell it, it's tart.
Right. So
if I smell it, you smell it.
So that's the point where you ain't gotta ask him, should I do this? Lord, I just ran 2 games of ball. I was wondering if I should shower, Lord. Whether it's you don't have to do. You know what I mean?
Don't go tell your kids to brush their teeth. You go in there with them.
Yeah, because you know what happened with that, boy. So some of them kids, man, you tell them run the shower and they just be sitting there. Shower just to running, they just sitting there.
And I think that also takes away from, if you're constantly praying, and this is just a thought, if you're constantly praying and praying and praying, then I think that affects your faith, because you're praying and praying and praying and praying, like the whole thing. You're praying for a car, or you're praying for a new job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I'm praying for a new job and that's all I'm doing, then I'm not doing the footwork. Like you said, faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, yes, again,
Praying and sitting there.
yeah, you're just praying and sitting. So you're not allowing God to take over, but He already gave you the smarts.
Mm-hmm.
Use a resume tool. Find somebody that know how to put a resume together.
Get your network.
Iron your clothes when you go to the interview. Don't come in there. Don't be on your phone. They're watching you. So, you know, and I don't know if in his 97-year-old mind he was just saying, oh, you just don't have to pray for big things. Because obviously there are. Because there are some things that you know you may not even qualify for in your mind. But that's when God comes in because of your prayer and your faithfulness.
Right.
And boom, I got this. And I don't even have, what they would require me to have. But I got the job. But, you know, but don't be one of those holier than thou saints that you got to.
You got to pray for absolutely, positively everything.
It's people like that too.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's kind of it does get to that spooky point though,
right?
You know, and I mean that was one of the topics that we had, and it's a fine line because we had discussed, if you guys remember, we had discussed if somebody, you know, walks according to their faith and they really uphold the standards of the Bible, and they really try to do their best to do everything in right standing with God, why do people mock them? You know, why do they call them super spiritual or whatever? It kind of reminds me of, you know, and not in any way bragging, but if you're a smarter kid, you know, the other children tend to make fun of the kid that's smart,
right?
As opposed to appreciating the fact that this is a rather intelligent child. You know, we'll poke fun at them. We'll say things like, "Oh, your teacher's pet," or, you know, "You think you all this and all that." And you find that dynamic played out in the world of Christians as well, where if somebody tries to walk holy, because, you know, the Bible does call for us to be holy. The Bible says, God said, "Be holy because I am holy." Now, you can't do it on your own, obviously.
Right.
But if that's the goal, and if that's what we're going for, and if somebody's really striving to do it, you know, and an example would be somebody who takes their sexual decisions very, very carefully, meaning they choose not to fornicate before marriage and they remain a virgin until they become married. Now, say this person's 30. We'll think something's wrong with them.
Right.
We'll make fun of them.
Especially if it's a dude.
Right, especially if it's a dude. They'll be like, bruh, where you been?
Right.
You know,
right. You all right? You know, why ain't you been? You know, so it's stuff like that. And if people take it seriously, we mock them and jeer them. So, you know, I it's kind of touchy when it comes to that because you get on that line where you're like, oh, this person's super spiritual, but then again, are they just doing what God wants them to do,
right?
And what God's asking them to do,
right? And part of our conversation was, and I look back at it, even with, you know, it's so funny because, you know, I can say that I've witnessed, and I've done it too. We as Christians will judge people that are living righteous, and it is crazy because, you know, I look at the Muslim friends I have, and they're devout Muslims. And I look at the Jewish friends I have, and they will go to, you know, they will go
synagogue.
to synagogue. Thank you. Saturday, faithfully,
and walk.
Right, and walk.
And
yeah.
walk.
And it's
with the long black coat on,
right over there, close.
In 100-degree weather.
In 100.
They ain't got no shorts.
No shorts set.
If I'm on a corner with a bean pie and a newspaper, I need in this 100 degrees outside. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Steam be coming out.
I can't get dress shorts on. We can't do it. No, okay. I'm just joking, but
he digress.
Right, but I digress. Right. We
I love when he tripped himself out. Like he tripping himself out.
I don't even know what I'm about to say.
I did. That was that extra laugh right there.
He laughed himself into a corner. Like,
but you know that's crazy that we poke and laugh at stuff like that because it's like, aren't we all called to be doing the same thing? Yeah. We're all called to live a holy, righteous life. So
and it's hard.
It is hard.
Don't sit there and act like it's not.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah. Walking this walk is not easy. So, you know, when you sign up for it, you got to know what you signed up for because it's the real deal.
What are you doing outside of Sundays? You sitting there talking about everybody else, what they do on Saturdays, what they do in the synagogue, the mosque. What are you doing outside of Sundays?
What do you do when you leave church?
Yeah.
Somebody cut you off and you already there.
You done flipped out. You didn't even leave the parking lot. You done cussed on the deacon. Because he got, you know, the one that had to be out there with the safety vest trying to stop traffic. They tell you to stop your car. What you mean stop my car? Brother, didn't you just leave the section?
Right. And the pastor just preached about patience. You know,
I ain't got patience. I'm late for work.
Or you want to take somebody home. You see them on the bus. You see them on the bus stop.
How many y'all did that?
So you hit a nerve right there.
Love thy neighbor.
You look the other way as you ride by.
Right.
You look down and turn the music up.
You pay.
Like they about to ask you for money or something. Like love your neighbor. I done took. And I ain't bragging. I done took plenty of people home.
Run somebody home.
Yeah, run somebody home.
Yeah. But the other, the funny one is like you said, the one where you just beep and wave.
Yeah.
I see you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday night.
Extra petty.
It's 92 degrees. I can't get a ride down to the subway station.
Please take them to the subway.
Take them somewhere. Take them
Some water,
somewhere. But anyway, you know, so Billy, you know, in my opinion, I think that, you know, he's somewhat right, but I just couldn't help but laugh at the story because it just made me think about a grumpy old man saying, you know, think for yourself.
Right. What are you praying for?
And that's kind of what it amounted to. So, what you got for us this week with your minute, Bassett? What you got for us this week, man?
I wanted to talk about the importance of, first, the importance of saving yourself. We were just talking about not fornicating. You have to realize on a spiritual sense, since we are Christians, when you give your body to somebody, one, you know, the Bible says our body is our temple. So when you give yourself to somebody, you're giving them the best of you, which you have to offer. You know, you're giving your body to them. So we have to look at Christians in particular, because we follow the faith. We have to look at that as God spoke on this, and He holds it at a high regard. So for your marriage, you got to remember, one, to keep a marriage. Make sure you're having sex in your marriage. Don't hold your spouse out because you're mad. You know, obviously, if you got anything medically going on, that's just a conversation that you have to have with your spouse, excuse me. But
to go see a doctor.
Yeah, to keep that richness and love in your marriage, sex is very important. And also, affair-proof your marriage. Please affair-proof your marriage, because when you give your body to somebody else that's not your spouse, one, you know, in the eyes of God, that's just, I know we say sin is sin, but that's a no-no. But two, you're giving the best of what you promised to give your spouse to somebody else. So, and, you know, you just have to be careful. So, you know, have fun in your marriage, keep the sex, keep it fun, but at the same time, if you are single, keep that promise with God. You will be blessed. Trust me. Me and my wife, we made a decision. Now, we did have sex before we got married, but like 7 months before we got married, we said we're going to stop, and we did. And we made it through, and it was tough. We made it through, but that, you know, and from that, so many doors opened while we were going through the process. Discounts that we got, free stuff that we got to help our marriage. I mean, we paid for our wedding. So, you know, money that I didn't even think was going to come came through. And I attested that to that promise that we made to God that, you know, we're going to honor what your word says. So, so if anyone that's single or even engaged, you know, keep yourself, keep that promise to God, because you will be blessed. And if you are married, that's a gift from God. Give that to your spouse as much as you can, as much as often, and don't give it to anybody else that's not your spouse. You got to keep that bond, that vow, to keep your marriage on the right path. And that's what I'm doing for this week.
Indeed. I mean, we I know, right? I mean,
that was good.
We're going to call him Pastor Massey. Pastor Massey's dead. But yeah, I mean, it's a very good point, man, and I'm glad that you raised it, because, you know, it's a lot of pressure outside of marriage to be active, even if you're not trying to become active. the images that are put in our faces on a daily basis through every possible media outlet.
Daily basis.
The conversations, it's just so much pressure to either be involved in or have some sort of intimate sexual relationship that it's not even funny at this point. They
put it in
use
cartoons too.
Yeah, it's in cartoons. They use it to sell products. I mean, it's just one of those things where it takes a lot of strength, and from that I would just strongly suggest that people really put their focus on Christ, because that's really the only way. It's so hard to do things by yourself with your flesh. You know what I mean? And lots of people make that mistake. They're like, you know what, I can handle it, I can do it, I can take care of it, but you really can't. You're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to fail if you don't have Christ as your backbone in a given situation. So good, definitely good topic, man. I appreciate both of you guys as far as your topics are concerned this week. And talking about that gossip piece was important too. People, if we only learn to say less.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's amazing what happens when you watch what you say and you guard your words and you're careful with what you say. So I think that you guys definitely hit the nail on the head this week, for sure. So before we get off the air, I wanted to give you guys a final thought for you today, just to speak on a couple of things. But just want to remind you that for those listeners that we have an awesome lineup on Sundays. We've got a couple of new shows as well. So starting on Mondays, you can join us on Monday through Sunday. It's always something going on. There's either music playing or we've got a show that's coming on. But our Inspirational Sundays obviously begin with us, yours truly, the After Church Show with Greg and friends from 1 to 3. The Afternoon Lift is on right after us, beginning at 3 to 5 p.m. with Sherry Broswell and her team. And then Let's Talk Baltimore starts at 5 p.m. To 7 p.m. And that's Tiana Burrell and Aaron. They host that show. It's a great show. You want to tune into that. And then our newest show for Sundays is Style and Substance with Mr. Always, Louis Wright, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Him and his crew will be in here on Sunday nights. And then there's a new show on Mondays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. for those of you who are interested in having a very open adult conversation, no bars. You tune in from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. so we don't expect any kids to be listening, but you certainly can tune in from 9 to 11 p.m. And then Test Bin Tuesdays from 8 p.m. To 10 p.m. I believe that's Mr. Always and Stan Stunner on Tuesdays. So if you are a hip-hop head and you like hip-hop and you like to listen to new music, new beats, definitely tune in because they are critiquing it, giving their opinions on it and talking about it. So for those who love hip-hop, we encourage you to tune in. But the lineup here is awesome, and you guys want to make sure that you are a part of the Street Legal Radio team. Download our app. It's very simple. You go to the Google Play Store and you look for Street Legal Radio. You download the app. You can have instant access to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can also log in. If you're at your computer, at your desk, and you want to hear us, or if you're even on your phone, you can log into www.streetlegalradio.com and you can join us as well 24/7. There's always something going on, whether it's music or whether it's a talk show. There's always something going on Street Legal Radio. As far as the After Church Show is concerned, you can also hit us on our website, www.theafterchurchshow.com. You'll see our lovely faces on there. You'll see some pictures, and you'll see a couple other things. And if you want to donate and help us out, there's also the information to do that as well. So if you want to donate towards the After Church Show to help keep us on the air, you're certainly welcome to do that. Just follow the instructions that are on that page, and you'll be able to do that for us. But before I get off the air, I just want to leave you with this final thought. The DNC was this past week. Democratic National Convention was this past week, and it was either Monday or Tuesday where the First Lady came out and she spoke on behalf of the party, trying to energize the base. Michelle Obama came out and gave a very powerful but brief speech as it relates to the direction the country should go in and what we need to do to make sure that we are successful. regardless of your political affiliation and regardless of what your feelings are towards the candidates, there was something that she said that really stuck with me, and it kind of got into my spirit, and I really thought about it on a much deeper level. But she's quoted as saying, "When they go low, we go high." And it just served as a reminder to me that as believers, we should always seek ways to take the high road in any given situation. I don't care if it's your marriage, I don't care if it's friendships, doesn't matter whether it's dealing with someone at work, dealing with people in the public, whether people are criticizing you, coming against you, talking about you, whatever it is. As a believer, we have an obligation to take the high road. The high road is not a place that's filled with a lot of people. The high road is a place where very few go, because it requires a lot to do so. It takes a lot to look past somebody's mistakes. It takes a lot to look past somebody's assault on your character. It takes a lot to look past things that people do purposely to try to harm you or hurt you in some kind of way. But the high road, believe it or not, is there for a reason. The reason that the high road is there is because we are to be Christ-like in our walks. We're supposed to be examples in this world. We're supposed to be the people that are looked to as the moral example, the spiritual example, the people who walk in a way that reflects the love of Jesus Christ. So the high road is not easy to take. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it always is something that I do either. Because there have been plenty of days that I found myself on the low road with a very low perspective on things. But the high road is something that you should all take. Think about it. Here's the challenge for the week. Regardless of the situations that you may face, and regardless of the issues that you may encounter this week, I want you to try to exhibit patience. And I want you to do what's necessary to take the high road. Before you speak, before you react, before you give a response to anything that somebody does to you this week, take a second and think about the outcome of what you're about to say. Think about the long-term outcome of what you're about to do. Even think about the outcome of decisions that you have to make. It doesn't have to be that somebody came against you, because taking the high road can simply mean taking a look at your own life and determining that you're not where you need to be. And if you decide that you are not where you need to be, then it's time for you to take the high road. Make a different decision. Make a different choice, and watch how your life change. Be blessed on your journey. We hope that you've enjoyed the After Church Show with Greg and Friends. I'm your host and producer, GB. As always, I've got my girl Kai Nicole with me and Brother Massey on my left. Big shout out to our engineer, Sade, for all that she does to make sure that we come through loud and clear. God bless you. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Keep it locked to WXSL Street Legal Radio, www.streetlegalradio.com. Be blessed on your journey.